It's Canada time. Welcome to Geoguessr Explained, and welcome back to the road to mastering Geoguessr. I'm Zigzag, and we are through to Canada. That was the most upvoted comment on the last video by far. Do leave whichever country you want to see explained next inside the comment section. And yeah, the format of this video is number one, I'm going to go through the guide on Plonket, just to explain to you what I think the most useful tips on this are, and generally speaking, how to guess Canada. And then we'll actually jump into it, and a lot of Canada is just guessing dirt roads that are in the middle of nowhere, so it's going to be probably a bit different to the guide when we actually jump in. But that being said, Canada is one of the best countries when it's urban to just get it correct, and also has a bunch of province-specific meta, so it is kind of similar. It's like the Australia of the North. It has a lot of stuff that's just like absolute freebie. So let's jump into it. Okay, so Canada, big-ass country. Driving right hand side of the road, of course. Camera generations, even though 1.9% for generation 2, it's still so much more than the US, and 1.9%, the ones that are left over in Gen 2, they're quite significant areas. For example, certain highways and certain pockets of certain provinces where you're going to see it chop quite a lot. So even though it's 1.9% of all coverage, it probably accounts for maybe, 5% of all rounds. So it's still, worth knowing. Okay, they speak English apart from in Quebec, of course. Generation 2, blah, blah, blah. This sign is very worth knowing. It does not appear in the US. The version that appears in the US is just what's inside the diamonds. This sign here. Whereas this checkered border is only in Canada. Quebec will not use this sign, and Newfie will use a different kind. So, yeah. Maximum 70. So yeah, they'll write maximum instead of speed limit. This is also a great way of distinguishing the US from Canada. Quebec will also say maximum. Canadian roads, if you're on a big road, it will either be single yellow or double yellow. The single yellow is much more common in Canada than in the US, maybe by 10 times, if not more. So yeah, I mean, probably by 20 times. So very worth knowing. This is the Canadian post symbol. I actually think this is a relatively good meta. I can't remember what the American one looks like though, but I guess it makes a backwards C here. I'm not really sure. Maybe someone in the comment section can tell me if that's a good mnemonic or not. But yeah. Okay. Canadian signs are less wordy. So America will write yield here. Canada won't. The way I remember this is that, because I found myself forgetting this one for like my first years of playing Geoguessr. The way I remember is in Canada, writing yield for the whole country, you can't do it because of Quebec. They don't yield's an English word. So just remember that because of the controversy and because of Quebec, they don't run anything. It could not actually, it doesn't necessarily actually have to be that case. This is a good way of remembering it. Okay, regional and specific province meta. Let's get into it. Plates. Plates are worth knowing in Canada. I would say particularly the Manitoba plate with green on either side, the Saskatchewan plate with green text, the Alberta plate with red, and then also red text also showing up in New Brunswick. But particularly, I would say, knowing that the front plates appear in Manitoba, in Ontario, and in BC. You should not really see front plates elsewhere, apart from in older coverage in New Brunswick, and I think oftentimes like trucks require them as well. So yeah, just be careful, but it is very useful. French. So you do get French pockets outside of Quebec, but it's mostly just Quebec and New Brunswick. So yeah, good to know. It's the francophone part of the country, and a lot of times you will see no English at all. So if you see something in English, you should really assume you're not in Quebec because they don't like that language there. Okay, infrastructure. So we got the Trans-Canada Highway, which runs literally the entire country long. So you will see that pretty often. Probably like 90% of Canadians live very close to the Trans-Canada Highway, I would assume. And then we've got a bunch of the different province highway shields here. So these ones are actually pretty useful. The brown one, I just saw that when I was filming today in Nova Scotia. But yeah, I would say particularly Manitoba, Alberta, and Saskatchewan are worth knowing because the Great Plains can look so similar. And then you got the fleur-de-lis on the Quebec one, so that's also pretty straightforward, I would say. Very useful stuff. Yellowhead BC, yeah, I saw both of those when I was over there recently. The kilometer market is actually different from in each province. what like could we say here? I mean, we know, so one of the good ways, one of the good ones to remember here, and not that I remember these particularly well myself, but one of the good ones to remember is that Ontario likes to put like a black thing at the bottom of their speed signs, and they also put this white thing at the bottom of their kilometer markers. So they just like to add stuff at the bottom of their signs, so that could be pretty useful there, I would say. What about the rest here? I mean, Quebec, definitely kind of unique, similar to, I mean, maybe Quebec, they add an extra section along with New Brunswick. I think it's kind of useful, but I guess just remember the Ontario one, and that already solves like the biggest province. So yeah, and then these two are different. Actually, the different sides of the Rockies can be difficult, and knowing that there's a line in the BC one could also be useful, I feel. Maximum, so maximum with a black thing at the bottom. That happens maybe half the time in Ontario. Pretty useful. Maximum with French at the bottom. They'll sometimes put that. Yeah. So that's useful too. And then BC will almost always put kilometers per hour at the bottom. So that is pretty useful. Whereas like in Alberta, you won't see the kilometers per hour. It'll just be like that. Okay, bollards. Bollards are pretty useful. This is the Alberta bollard, the most common one. You just see it in Alberta all the time. Other provinces aren't so loving their bollard just quite as much. This bollard is the Manitoba bollard. It will either have the black and gray or the black, gray, and orange. And it looks similar to the Saskatchewan one, as far as I remember. This is the BC bollard, quite similar to like the Nevada bollard, for example. The Quebec bollard is probably the second most useful one. We got Christmas colors on it, and they often put it on the guardrails. This is the Quebec fire hydrant. It'll have the little sign next to it. But there are similar ones in the other eastern provinces, so yeah, and you can also see it in New Brunswick in one city. This is the Quebec bollards. They are, or second variant. Yeah, I don't really know how to remember these, but you know, you do come across them. They look fairly similar to the other side of the border, like in Maine and stuff, so that's kind of maybe a good way to remember it. The Ontario diamond, probably also the third most useful one, and you can identify these even from behind, so they're pretty useful. Ontario guardrail, very useful meta. This one's definitely worth knowing. They just use like wooden posts that are kind of cut off at a slanted angle, and they put the wires between them. Very, very Ontarian thing. You see it all the time. Flat yellow bollards are on the Trans-Canada Highway in New Brunswick. I'd forgotten that, but now that I see it, yeah, that definitely makes sense. I learn in these ones too that I've seen before, so good to dedicate that to memory. The white section in the Northwestern Territories is much more thin than neighboring Alberta. Transformers will face the road mostly in BC and New Brunswick. So the transformer is not facing, so it's not facing the driver. Instead, it's facing. So imagine I'm driving down the road and I'm coming towards this pole. It's facing towards the road instead of towards the driver. You know what I mean? So yeah. And then they place them at a 45-degree angle in Prince Edward Island, which is just getting Gen 4 now. And then I guess that's it. They're saying, but yeah, that's pretty useful stuff. This pole top with the cups, the so-called cups, is found in Ontario and can occasionally appear in British Columbia and apparently Nova Scotia too. Okay, this pole top is Quebec, but beware, even though it's only found in Quebec, this pole top, you can also find it in the US. I've noticed, and especially in neighboring New York. So careful of that. This is the Quebec, like, pole sticker, pole attachment, black at the top, yellow down the bottom, and it is pretty common, I would say. They say sometimes, yeah, it definitely is sometimes there. Prince Edward Island has a small white plaque on the poles. I think you can also see a similar one in Winnipeg. So, but yeah, they should look pretty different. This is a really good pole top meta, which I still find very cool to this day, is that on the poles, you'll have 2 on one side for insulators and 1 on the other side, and then it will switch. The next pole will have 2 on the left side and 1 on the right side instead of 2 on the right side, 1 on the left side. So I really like that. As I said, the road ending thing is different in Quebec, and this is the version that you see in Newfie and also Labrador. Green back of the signs, you can see it sometimes in Prince Edward Island, but it's a British Columbia meta. Useful one for sure. Hanging signs, very useful for British Columbia. Particularly common on like mountain roads, I would say. British Columbia, this is a highly impactful meta, especially on like NMPZ or something. But BC will use like concrete blocks instead of guardrails, which is just a really interesting thing that they've decided to do. And you will occasionally see these over on the US side of the border, but they're a very strong clue for British Columbia. Green and white on the wooden post will be found in Manitoba, and this also is reminiscent of their number plate, which has green on either side, so I quite like this one. It's quite easy to remember. Then the white triangles, just the next one over in Saskatchewan. Just remember in conjunction, okay, it's not the Manitoban one that looks like the Manitoban license plate, so it's the next one over in Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan road lines, highly impactful meta. It will show up many times when you have the double road lines in Sask. They'll just put the white ones in between. And, actually, no, never mind. Next one, CH. Okay, never mind. So, arrêt is the stop sign in Quebec. And they also put CH, or like rue, or whatever, for the street. They're using French. I can't remember what CH stands for, but, it is French. Bilingual would mostly just point you towards New Brunswick. Rural roads have interesting numbering systems. Township roads and range roads are exclusive to Alberta, though, and they are... You can actually learn exactly how... You can learn from this infographic here how to region guess them based on the numbers. Pretty essential stuff if you want to play... If you want to be a moving player, but even no moving, it can give you a high advantage on a duel or something. Alberta will sometimes have these small guardrails with 3 or 4 metal wires on major roads. Okay, this is a very impactful one. I would say that last one, decent, but this one's very good. Newfie and Labrador will have this, and maybe we should actually open this location to make it more clear. They will have this kind of pyramid at the top, and this is not even the greatest example, I feel, but they will have a pyramid, at the top of their guardrail posts. That is completely unique anywhere in the world. It's just in Newfie and Labrador. So very useful one. If you you don't normally have a guardrail in that part of the world, but if you do, then yeah, that's just a free round. Next one here, the fire hydrants in Newfie will have the diamond. So remember they had the sign in Quebec, and now they have the diamond here. These wooden boxes are found in Newfie and Labrador. I guess to keep the signs stable. Maybe they're temporary or something. For whatever reason, traffic cones are actually pretty useful in Canada. This is the Ontario one. You see them quite a lot. They're always doing roadworks because it's so cold and snowy. And then the Quebec version is the same, but with white, and it's very reflective. Quebec will have the kind of German, the Austrian-Hungarian style of chevrons for some reason. It's not even the same color as the Quebec flag, so I'm not really sure why they do these, but yeah, they use those ones. I don't think you'll ever see the normal black and yellow ones in Quebec either, so that's pretty useful. These lamp heads with a rectangular shape that face exactly downwards are mostly found in New Brunswick, occasionally Nova Scotia. Pretty useful one, I would say. Actually does come in clutch sometimes. And then we're talking about landscape. So basically, yeah, you're going to see big mountains out in the west. You're going to see the boreal landscape up in the Yukon. You got the rain shadows around Kamloops and Kelowna, which are very dry. It's a place I've been before. Great Plains, obviously super flat, lots of agriculture. Canola leans you middle center. And then we probably get a bit too specific. Oh yeah, the Canadian Shield is talking about these big rock walls that occur on the side of major highways, or just everywhere, to be honest, out this direction of Canada. So it'll be kind of mid Ontario. You'll also see it around Flin Flon in Manitoba, and you'll also see it up near what's it called? Gosh damn it, I forget what the capital of Northwestern Territories is, but you know what I mean. No, not coming to me. Okay. So yeah, this is a very populated part of Canada, the most popular, the Quebec-Windsor corridor. There'll be a lot of vegetation here, a lot of agriculture, and a lot of people, and it will be farmland, so it looks quite a lot like US. PEI has the reddest soil. No idea why this is the case, but it's very useful. Super useful, indeed. The balsam fir is the like tree that is super common on Newfie, and just remember it as the Newfie tree when you see this kind of tree. I think these ones in the background are even a better example than just be sure to keep Newfie in mind. Phone codes are pretty useful in Canada. I think you only really have to learn the... Let me see here. I think you only really have to learn... some of these are more useful than others because many are overlays, but yeah, there's a good image that has the bad ones blocked out. Maybe I can find it. Provincial flags, I would say Quebec is useful to know. And apart from that, learn them if you want. Bins made of wood outside people's houses are really common in Newfie. We call it the Newfie bin. The Acadia flag is common in coastal New Brunswick and northern New Brunswick, and occasionally in the other neighboring maritime provinces. And then there are a few roads, which I won't cover in depth here, but yeah, Canada has a lot of northern cities covered with small trekkers as well, and these ones, if you want to go on and become a very good player, you probably have to remember, though, to be honest, many I do not remember. Cambridge Bay, Gen 2. I gotta remember that, man. That's that. When that shows up and I miss it, it's embarrassing. But anyway, I say let's quickly look at the topography of the country, and then we'll get into things here. So, first off, coverage. So Newfie's decently covered, has a lot of Gen 3 and a lot of Gen 3, not too much Gen 4 yet. Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, everything here is very well covered. Newfie will only, Labrador will only have one road covered for the most part. It's got the striped blue and white car, and it is taken in 2021, often with a 2022 copyright or a 2021 copyright. I think it actually just depends on the frame, right? It's October. You will see 21 sometimes. Yeah, that's 21. So just bear in mind that that's all you're going to see up here. Obviously, sometimes copyright does lie, but it's pretty useful for the most part. Quebec mostly has, in terms of north, the area around Saguenay, and this area here around, what's the big city here, I guess? Rouyn-Noranda. It's often a north-south grid, which is pretty unique. When you look down here, there's not much of a north-south grid, so I would say that's actually pretty good to know. Northern Ontario does not have much coverage. They just did this, I think, which is pretty interesting. This is all pretty far north, but yeah, just keep in mind that it does occasionally go pretty north out in the west. Thunder Bay's got like a big north-south grid kind of area, and you also see some interesting looking hills out in Thunder Bay area, like that. So then we got Manitoba, fairly well covered, but you should never really click above where it says Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba like this, with the exception of like a few roads up in North Alberta, but yeah, the coverage kind of just stops. There are towns up here which are connected by road, I think. Like if we zoom in here, or maybe not that one, but I think some of these towns are connected by road, yeah, or maybe not even. But anyway, they might eventually receive coverage, but seems like for now they will not. And yeah, Saskatchewan, obviously Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, you're gonna see a lot of north-south grid, heavily like covered around the major cities, of course. That only makes sense. There's also this farming area which looks surprisingly, it's like one of the most northerly like agricultural areas in the world, so just be careful for this area. But it's difficult to get even for a pro. Then like BC will have a lot of coverage in kind of the Central Valley here between the mountains and the Rockies. You'll get quite a bit on Vancouver Island. This is the Fraser Valley, and it is pretty distinctive. Maybe I can get a better round here to show what I mean. But you're going to be able to see like very dark soil with mountains north and mountains south. And it's just so flat inside the valley that, like, yeah, if you can get this, your opponent will miss it, and you'll get super nice points onto them. Yeah, and then Yukon and Northwestern Territories. So Northwestern Territories, this road here, the number 1 and the number 7 are Gen 4. But as soon as you get off to the off-road to Yellowknife, which is what I was trying to think of, it's all Gen 2 so far, so yeah, it's pretty useful. And then Yukon's almost exclusively Gen 2 and Gen 4. No Gen 3 exists up here. And you'll have the blue car, and everything will be kind of autumnal. And you get these very northern looking trees that are very thin And yeah. So yeah, all in all, that's how it looks. Then we're going to look at terrain here. Obviously, Yukon is entirely mountainous. You'll never see a dead flat Yukon round unless you're like right here. Even that'll still be hilly. BC, mostly hilly all throughout, except for the Fraser Valley, which is only very slightly hilly. You will get some dead flat areas like out here, where, yeah, you would be forgiven for going US here because look at this. It looks completely strange. But yeah, you should be able to at least see mountains in the distance on a clear day. Yeah, Vancouver Island is pretty hilly as well. Then the hills do spill over into Alberta, the Rockies, and you do get a decent amount of some elevation up here. But for the most part, Alberta is a flat province, and then Saskatchewan really is flat. The biggest hills you get in Saskatchewan are around these like rivers here. So around the what river is this? It's not going to tell me, eh? But yeah, you actually can see quite some significant elevation change here. Maybe this road has coverage. Okay, this one will. Nope. Okay, maybe the 4. We can still see it. Not really. We can't really see it from here, but you can see it. The hills do start quite a bit here. And one thing to consider is that, yeah, and also down here, quite some hills here. You can see these mountains a lot of times from Canada, from Canada in the US, you know what I mean? So if we're on here, we can see these mountains. So don't be afraid to click down here in Alberta if you see mountains, because there are some random Montanan mountains which just don't really reach over to the Canadian side. Manitoba, very flat, okay? Very flat. You do get some hills around these national parks, though. And Flin Flon actually also has quite a bit of elevation around it, but nothing crazy. Ontario, also quite flat, but you're going to get a lot of hills throughout, I've noticed. Like, this area down here is super flat, but even up here, you're going to get more hills, and towards the Quebec border, it starts to be just kind of generally hilly. Whereas, yeah, this is still the valley here, but you're going to see hills down here on the American border, and quite some as you head north. The Canadian Shield just kind of begins, right? I don't know if that actually still counts, but yeah. New Brunswick, hilly. Nova Scotia, flat with slight hills, and Cape Breton is quite hilly. Newfie, west is mountainous, more or less, and then east gets just kind of hilly in general. Labrador, hilly in general. And that covers everything, I think, and Yellowknife area is quite flat. So, yeah, I think we did everything in terms of the elevation. So let's jump into some no-moving gameplay, and I'll explain my thought process here. We'll see if we can play well. The car colors are also pretty useful in Canada compared to the US as well, I would say. So we'll see if we can use that. Okay, we got a metallic guardrail here, reminiscent of the one we would see in Alberta. So let's see if we got plates here. Plates are red tinged, so that all but confirms it. And then we have the bollards as well. So this looks good. No front plates as well. As we remember, BC would have them, but Alberta will not. And at this point, it's definitely worth angling up the road. It is going north-south, so maybe we are on like this road here or something. We were, but much further down towards Calgary. That's fine, in my opinion. Next one here, black car. Black car is really common in certain areas of Canada. You can see it in BC. It's really common on the Ottawa-Montreal border. Also really common on the Nova Scotia-New Brunswick border. So let's have a look around here. So we got no front plate here. That's leading us east. And, I mean, with the double yellow lines, this is something actually the guy did not mention. That's crazy. But the double yellow lines are easily most common in Canada in Nova Scotia. Any road like this would normally have a single yellow line in Canada. Like, major roads will have double yellows, but like this would just, in most provinces, they would just simply do a single yellow line here, and Nova Scotia bucks the trend. You can see single yellow line, it's just uncommon. And then Quebec is the other province that also likes to do that sometimes. And so I would just think Nova Scotia here. And indeed it is. Black car, as I said, near that border, quite common. Next one here, immediate vibe is like Alberta, Saskatchewan. Feels pretty far north. Okay, so just vibing the trees here as well. So we have a raised, we have a lower crossbar here with the raised middle insulator. That would then be more Alberta over Saskatchewan. We saw what the Saskatchewan poles look like. We have an east ridge though. So maybe I'm quite wrong here. What would we be doing in Alberta with an east ridge? I think it's possible, but it's just kind of weird. But it definitely feels like the plains, right? Maybe this is actually BC. because an east ridge would make more sense for BC, of course. It looks like we have no front plate, though. Okay, I'm left a little confused here. Maybe we can find a bollard or something. It seems like we won't. Angle of the road is east-west, as expected, I suppose. And yeah. Okay, so difficult round. It's going to be either BC or Alberta. I still like Alberta better, so maybe we can find an east ridge somewhere. Up on this road or something. So there is a ridge on this river, but I'm still not really seeing where we'd see the east ridge. Maybe like a road here. We could be looking at these river hills. That would be my best guess here, I think. It feels very far north with these trees. They just have a north vibe about them, so let's give it a go. And, okay, it was actually Saskatchewan, like I said. I'm really not familiar with that east ridge. What is that, even? I'm actually going to go back into mapmaking.app and check that out here. So, that was, I mean, oh, what the heck? Oh, I pressed the next round, but we were somewhere like over here. We were in Saskatchewan, like up here. What? It was like this road. I can't remember now. Well, yeah. Moving on, we can look at that after the round, I guess. This one is interesting. North, water. With the Canadian flag, we could probably expect not Quebec here. They're not patriotic about Canada in the way that you would see many flags, I would say. We've got a bunch of pines here, but they are not, I would say, Newfie trees. Yes, this one's a bit of a vibe round, isn't it? One thing I'll say is that the insulator, so the line is going like this, and the insulator then faces the road. And it's not the transformer, but the insulator. When the insulator faces the road, that's pretty common in Quebec, Nova Scotia, PEI, I think. So I'm wondering about just like a Cape Breton here or something, or like because we're looking at other land, or maybe like something over here, looking over at PEI or something like that. That could make some sense to me. Maybe one of these towns here. Looking at the angle, okay, not great actually. It's not what I'd expected. Okay, I'm not really sure what this is then. Could be quite wrong here. Roberta? Descus. I don't know. Not really see, like, this is definitely a line-upable round. I'm not really seeing where. Well, maybe actually, we don't have the little white tag on the pole. That's why I'm kind of discouraged from PEI. But maybe there is actually a good argument for going PEI. Someone like this. I don't know. Nope, not quite sure. Let's just move on. And it was actually over in Nova Scotia indeed, but we're looking up at that. Okay, yeah. So that makes sense. The insulator facing the road. Another thing that should probably be on the dock, because it's not as consistent, but it's very commonly seen. So yeah, we got the right area there at least. And we have the Ontarian guardrails here with the cut-off top and the wooden posts. So that's very good. We have the white Google car here. Okay, so we're going south, the white Google car. I think that reminds me maybe of this road, right? Finland. We could be near Finland here. Feels maybe that would not. I think we're more so in the shield here, so probably like the 17 or something. Would that be a black car or a white car? You should go black and then black. So that, yeah, this should be a white car road. I'm gonna try that. And it was actually up near Thunder Bay. Okay, on that road. Maybe I misremembered it then. That would be white, then white. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I didn't misremember it. But yeah, I guess a bit more shieldy around Thunder Bay than I had remembered. But yeah, makes sense. Okay, well, I want to have a look at this. So, Nipalin, and we've got the Wildcat Hill. And we can see a bit of elevation here. That's what we're looking at. That is very strange, to be honest. And it's probably just one road or two that you could really see that. Hard round, I would say. Okay, next one here. White in the center, but these hills are too big for Saskatchewan. So the Saskatchewan lines also exist in BC and Yukon occasionally. So we should be BC here, or actually Yukon's possible. Now that I look at the landscape, it's very autumn. And yeah, we got big hills. So I guess actually, yeah, indeed. Yukon here, and we don't see kilometers at the bottom of the speed sign. So should indeed be. And we're going southwesterly. So, and we're in a valley that runs southwest. So theoretically pretty possible here. Yeah, not too sure. So the hills to our southeast are pretty prominent. We don't really see what's going on northwest though. So yeah, I don't know. It gives me a south vibe, but I'm not really sure where this is. And it's actually a north vibe up near Dawson City. Yeah, the valley looks perfectly good, but well, should just learn that better. I go southwest. Would have expected us to be driving the other direction there. Learning Yukon is a lot about the driving direction. Generally speaking, the roads drive south, but yeah, wasn't familiar with that. Okay, next one here. So, what am I looking at? No fronts here. Very useful. Not going to be Ontario. We've got French. So, yeah, this is Quebec. It just looks like Quebec, but we have no front plates. And, yeah, that's the Quebec pole top, and that's the Quebec sticker. Quebec actually does have a bunch of phone codes, so I'm going to try and get a phone code here. See if we can remember which one it will be. There was a phone number here, I remember. No, I've lost it. Maybe I forget. Could have sworn there was a phone number somewhere here. It's going to be too difficult to find it, so we see that we're in a big city here for sure. But we don't see much else. Color of the car is just blue. Okay, just gonna go just gonna hedge it a bit here. Trois-Rivières. And it was actually in Gatineau there, on the other side of Ottawa. Considered that. It's kind of annoying. It's about as worse as it can go there. So white car is really common in Saskatchewan out on the Great Plains. Black car is really common in Manitoba, and blue car is really common in Alberta, but they pretty much, you will see them, in each, I think. We have the metal guardrail here leaning me towards Alberta, but looks like these bollards are not Albertan bollards. I would say they're Sask bollards. Oh, this pole top is actually a Manitoba pole top, so I think we actually might be in Manitoba just over from Saskatchewan here, actually. Okay. Yeah, these long insulators with like the really low crossbar. That would make sense. The road is really weird though. I don't think I've seen that in Manitoba actually. Could be in trouble here. We'll see. So also the highway is not north-south, which is, yeah. What's going on here? 75 maybe? Maybe it has a couple of angles. We could be like here. I mean, does it actually line up properly? It doesn't. So yeah, I would say we're not there. In which case, where do we go? I mean, there are a few angles, perhaps. Nothing's particularly appealing. Maybe the pole top is lying, or maybe we're right here. I just saw one when I was zoomed in. Not that one. Not that one. Okay. I guess road angle, it doesn't really matter. Let's actually just try and vibe it here then. White car. There are many more angles like this in Saskatchewan. I'm gonna say the pole top is the thing that's lying here. And it wasn't. Oh, it's just, wait, it was that. What? That's literally where I scanned, right? Well, I actually don't understand. I mustn't have lined up the compass properly. I think that's what happened there. I thought I had. Otherwise, I would have gone there, obviously. White car with that pole top. Yeah, I guess the pole top is probably just too trustworthy to not go there. This one's a difficult round, I could say. Single yellow line, so probably not Nova Scotia. Wooden signpost is just always more common in Canada than the US, by the way. I think this vibes quite New Brunswick, but I'm not sure if New Brunswick has this car. Yeah. I think it vibes quite New Brunswick. I could also just see Ontario, like up near Sudbury or something, where it's much less agricultural. I'm gonna go New Brunswick here. And it was. Yeah, it's new coverage. I'm not really sure what that car was, but just the look of the round was enough there. Okay, road ending sign like this, so we're going to be in Quebec. Also, the rounded lamp is more common in Quebec than in other provinces, I would say. White car, so leans more northern Quebec here. There is a document which someone can remind me in the comments to link, and I'll link, which goes over a lot of the car stuff. It's a bit outdated, but yeah. Oh, and these red tags, so Canadian poles will often have like 3 or 2 lines on them. Down near the bottom one, you'll often have a red tag. That will be really common in Quebec and Ontario and not really elsewhere. So also kind of a nice one, I think. But I'm going to go up towards Quebec City here. And it was just a bit more towards the US border. Oh yeah, kind of fumbled the Manny there. Next one here, immediate Newfie vibe, but it could be elsewhere. This kind of like sand, dusty stuff on the side of the road reminds me of Newfie. We got fireweed as well here, which is like obviously going to be pretty far north. And as I said, it's Gen 3, so it won't be Yukon. I think it does look like Newfie. If it's not Newfie, it's probably like Cape Breton. But again, we have a single white line, single yellow line, so probably not that. We don't have that many Newfie trees here. We can see some. But yeah, I do believe that this should be Newfoundland. That's kind of weird. I'm going to go in Eastern Newfie here. And it was. Yeah. That's a pretty vibes round, but just look at what that round looked like with the kind of sandy, kind of slightly pinkish, not pink like Prince Edward Island, not red like Prince Edward Island, slightly pinkish, dusty stuff on the side of the road in Gen 3. Very common in Newfie. Okay, next one. So we got the central thing is not facing the road, but it's facing the driver. So that would immediately make me think it's probably not Quebec or Nova Scotia. This is facing the road, so maybe actually just New Brunswick here. White car could fit for New Brunswick, I believe. Can't actually remember too much. What about that? We've got a little tag there. Doesn't really mean anything to me. Yeah, we don't have the red tags on the pole this time. Difficult round to be sure. I think we're gonna have to trust this. I think that is the transformer that's just gonna lead me towards New Brunswick here, and it is nice. As I said, a lot of nice metas in this map or in this country. Double yellow line with autumn coverage and car glitch. I feel like this road has now been overwritten by Gen 4, but I feel like we're actually on the 117 here. I think that looks quite a lot like the 117. As I said, double yellow line is pretty common in Quebec. This overcast coverage with the autumn here reminds me of that road. It's the road. Okay, so the road's been covered Gen 4 where I clicked, but it still goes up, the 113, like a bit further up. So that's what it will look like. Yeah, very distinctive one. Once you've played a bit of Canada, 705. So that would be GOL, which I think was a Sudbury. Gol. Yeah. Oh yeah, this kind of attachment for the insulator is pretty Ontario, I think. So that feels good. No red tag this time though. It looks rather Ontarian, I would say. Canadian flags are probably not Alberta. I mean, probably not Quebec. Front plate feels good. That is facing towards the road, but bear in mind that it's facing towards where the wire is, so it doesn't count. Oh, and we have an angled insulator here, which is something you see a lot in Ontario and BC, I think. So Gol. Yeah, so I would say Sudbury then. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I misremembered. Tell me in the comments. Can't remember. Might just be a second one. Okay, we got the Saskatchewan road line here. We can see the alternating ones, 2 on one side, 1 on the other side, 2 on one side this time, 1 on the other side. Grid 668. Not gonna try and do that. We got the arrow on the we got the triangle on the signpost there. Okay, nice. Yeah, so just looks very generic here. We like it's contrary to what you would think, but in Saskatchewan, the further north you go, the more trees there are. You would think that further south the trees could survive better, but it's just not the case. There's the Aspen line, and it kind of starts here around these national parks, and the trees kind of follow this line, and then just north of Edmonton. So, and then they go back and down and hug the mountains. But just bear in mind that this whole section here is kind of weirdly shaped without trees. It's slightly hilly here. I'm just going to say this is like middle Saskatchewan. Nothing too crazy. Yeah. Okay, that was a good seed at least. 19k. Misremembered the phone number was the only problem there. This is the pole top that we said is Ontario. Sometimes BC. These reflectors on the guardrail, I think that feels good. And yeah, we know this is Ontario because look, we got the Canadian shield here. We got the like rocks coming up to the side of the road. Yeah, so blue car 24. Okay, so it's new stuff. Thinking this is like somewhere up here, one of these roads up here. Not really sure which one. Angle it up maybe. Go for the 65 or something. Oh, nice. It was the 566 there, but 20 kilometers is a good result. But we're just in the thick of the shield there. Tons of trees. Yeah. Okay, this looks newfie immediately. We got these Christmas tree looking things. Okay, so we got Ocean West. So probably we're in the west here. Oh yeah, this long insulated with again the big thing, similar to the one we saw in Ontario. That's like a, I think Newfie in Ontario. You see that or something like that. Single yellow line, so not Cape Breton here. We see southwest the big hill and then west the ocean. So it's probably pretty figure-outable here. The Barbers Brook area could work pretty nicely here. Because we are pretty much on the coast, eh? Like this. I don't have mind that actually, but pretty north-south though. I don't know. It's something out west, I think, or maybe even out this direction here. Could be. Like Newfie's pretty hard to reach and guess, I would say. Okay, nice. Okay, next one here, concrete guardrail. So immediately thinking BC here, regardless. And yeah, you can see pretty big hills here. So, oh yeah, and there's a hanging sign. You can just make it out look like Hangman. Yeah, so this is BC. White car 23. Not too sure where this is. Feels decently inland to me, just off vibes. The hills are kind of smaller, so probably in the central part here. But it's not too dry, so probably not in the rain shadow like in Kamloops or something. It's not a divided highway, so the 6 could work pretty nicely here. I could see that. Maybe just down here towards like Selmo as well. Probably my second option. Does it look like US? Not so much. I think I'll go near. I'll go on the 6. Yeah. Okay. 33. Pretty good there. Pretty good. Off to a good start here on the seed. Next one here. Brockton, which is in Bruce County, Walkerton in Ontario here. Okay. There's the Ontarian flag, the red one. There's the black bar at the bottom of the thing. Straight crossbar instead of straight lamp instead of very curved. So straight again. Because we remember we said Quebec was the super curved one. So can I vibe this to get a good guess? I think it almost feels. So what's the angle of the road here? Because in Ontario is the one, like the place in Canada where the road angle matters the most. But this almost felt like around here to me. The angle is not right though. Around here could make some sense. No, again, it's even flatter. Maybe. Okay, what did we say it was? Walkerton. Not a good score. Fairly tempted to try and make this one work. It's too flat down here, I think. Maybe up here. Some decent angles, to be sure. And the other place? Bruce County. Bruges County. Yeah, Bruges County. We saw the other place name as well, didn't we? Brockton. No, I think it's Walkerton. Not sure. Not sure where Walkerton is. Although it feels like a fairly significant place, and we're inside like a valley. It's. I mean, actually, now that I really like try and pay attention to this landscape, it feels like we should be around here, just with the sheer size of these hills. But it doesn't feel too far north. Like, is it 24? It's this new 24 blue stuff, which does go up here quite a lot, but yeah, I think it more or less just kind of looks like the stuff you get around here. So I'm gonna guess here. Ah, and it's just a random hill through here. Would not expect to like kind of feel like I was in a valley over here, but you do get hills in this northern part. So yeah, makes sense. Next one here, side mounted big insulator. So perhaps Ontario again here. No red tag. Okay, here's where the angle's super useful. We're going slightly northwest. I remember there's an angle. Oh, that's slightly northeast. Damn it. Okay, what about over here? Slightly northwest. There's a north-south angle over here. Ah, slightly northwest. I was hoping it was this angle, but I guess we're in this section actually of Ontario then. Angle's looking dead on. Okay, yeah, we're definitely around here. Same kind of area, and again, you can kind of see a bit of elevation here with a few more trees, so that definitely checks out. And, oh, it's a bit unlucky. It extends quite a way. I didn't realize how big that angle is. Well, actually, no, not really. It's more so over here, but then there is a very similar angle just for a little bit over here again. Yeah, whereas this is northeast. Okay, so that makes sense. There is a bit of wet northwest down here. So yeah, not too bad there, 20k. And we'll go for a couple more here. I'll go a bit quicker now. So this is the 132. I think it's one of the bigger highways in Quebec, if I remember correctly. We got the Fleur-de-Lis and the French to boot. 132 is there. Nice, yeah. It's the one that follows the river. It's quite hilly. Again, Quebec is a bit hillier. And we got 418. So D-A-T. Oh, that means we're towards Quebec City, I believe. That's pretty useful. And I guess maybe next we'd get the town name. I mean, we could just 5k this, because we're on... What's that there? This is the Route de la Grève. You could probably just 5k by checking in towns which one the La Route de la Grève is. But, I mean, probably a bit too tedious for our purposes. I just want to go for a couple more checks here. What about this one? This looks pretty good. Right? We're on the... Yeah. Let's check the angle here. Actually, wouldn't mind getting it, you know? I should bend around a little west. The road that comes out. Yeah. No. Because the northwest one... Oh, there's nothing south. Oh, there's nothing south of us. Okay. I've been scanning for the wrong thing then. That's okay. But I do believe we're towards Quebec City, so... who knows? Oh, yeah, it is even further north. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, as I said, the 132 is really long, so... Bit unlucky there. Not a bit unlucky. Bit of a skill issue. Okay. White car, so... This looks quite similar to the coverage that you'd get up here, but it's white car instead of striped. So that in itself is a big help here. Looks pretty shieldy, especially this direction. Like that. Feels pretty shieldy. So I'm liking Ontario here. We've got... Oh. Hold up. Oh, I know. We're in Newfie, actually. We got the Newfie, guardrail top, right? And we got Newfie trees everywhere. I said it looked pretty shieldy based on that, but that's just coincidence, I think. And the white car, yeah, it's not going to be Labrador, even though it looked like Labrador because it's got similar trees, but just Newfie instead. And it's probably just the main highway here. And we're going southeast, so I'm just going to click around here, I think. Yeah. Okay, next one here. Things facing the road, so thinking out this direction, perchance. White car. This crossbar is a bit shorter than normal, so that also reminds me of like New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. So yeah, I think I like that. Yeah. 24. New coverage. I'm just going to go there. Okay, a bit further up. It was a bit hilly, to be fair. That's Saskatchewan. And it's very flat. Very few trees. And pretty dry. Looking a bit like more towards Regina here, I think. Yeah, that's fine. Rue. Okay. So, and we got the black car, so just thinking like a Montreal click here is fine. Yeah. So that was a nice one again, 19k. This looks like BC, doesn't it? No car at all, though. So no car at all can be found in BC, most common in Alberta. as far as I remember. And yeah, green back of the sign here, so we know it's BC. And I guess, you know, with the no car at all, because it's so common in Alberta, I'll guess over here. But no, it's just actually good to know it's just found over in Kamloops now as well. Okay, so that's French. And there's the French. Okay, so are we perfectly north-south? We are. Or are we? Almost perfectly, I would say. So thinking of this north-south bit up here, it does kind of look like it. And we have a lot of like eastern white pine. That would make quite a bit of sense, I think. I'm going to try it here. And no, it was just a bit of north-south, unlucky north-south angle within the greater grid here, just a little bit over here. To be fair, it did look quite a lot like Vermont or Maine. Yeah, a bit of a poor guess. I think it's also like quite a lot of springtime coverage up there where I clicked, so maybe actually kind of a poor guess, but got a bit baited by the angle there. Here we have a Saskatchewan pole tops. Never going to miss the province with these. Although I guess sometimes you can find them elsewhere, to be fair. Curved. Striped car with the Quebec bollards inside the guardrail here. Striped car. They did a lot of like new striped car stuff in the north of the province, like up towards Saguenay even. But I think this is a bit further south. It is hilly. But no, I think you kind of have to temper it a bit here and go more down here. Yeah, just didn't look quite far north enough. Okay, here we have the Newfie guardrail. We got the car glitch. So there's not too much car glitch in Gen 4 in Canada, but when you do see it, I find it a lot on this section of the highway in Newfie, so that can be pretty useful for guessing. So something like this, I suppose, a bit further up. 16K, we'll go for one more. Gen 2, double lines, short crossbar, things facing the road. Curved, but they're a bit different. They're a bit smaller, right? This is Nova Scotia. Yep. Next one here. Dark car, like actually it might be white car, I think here. So we said white car most common in Sask. And that is going to be a Manitoba sticker there, the green, white, green. Okay, we're in Manny. A lot of trees here, which is definitely interesting to me. Perfectly north-south, of course. I think it might just be above Winnipeg here, actually. Just below it, okay. Okay. Well, I'm pausing right now because I see a sufficient amount of red soil to think this is just Prince Edward Island. And look how much there is. This is Prince Edward Island in a nutshell, guys. You don't need to look at anything else once you see this much red. You can just end. Okay, that is bilingual signage. Interesting. Not really sure why that is because this looks like the Great Plains. And we even have Saskatchewan pole tops, I think, here. So we're in that French-speaking part of Saskatchewan, question mark? No front plate? Or Manny. Province highway. Okay, that's interesting. Well then, I think it's pretty far west. And it's just, yeah, Winnipeg there, okay. Okay, this landscape, like, Generation 3, gravel road, no trees, kind of dry, but a bit of green grass. This, like, click on the border here. So let's see which side we think it is. White painted signpost, I would lean Alberta with that, I think. Let's see. Okay, just Saskatchewan. Yeah, okay, we got 19.9. Let's go one quick one again here. So, Saski road lines here. With the Great Plains vibe. That is going to be the big gap, so it's going to be in Alberta. And, well, we could probably work out exactly where we are by using the Ridge Road, but I can't be asked with that. What does it say? Kind of hilly here. Kind of suspiciously hilly. I think when I see that landscape, I know, like, click out here. That's actually just more middle. Okay. Okay, so this is north-south? No, it's not. Okay. Well, like, water south of us. Not really sure what's going on here. Okay, we got the, straight... Water south, huh? I think it's actually... You know, I got an idea here. This might be Manitoun Island, because, like... Or Manitoulin, I mean, island. Because, like, what are we really looking at here otherwise? It's probably pretty 5K-able, isn't it? Can we see a road that lines up nicely with what we're looking for here? It's mostly on a grid, to be fair. Something like that. We see a house at the end here. Well, there wasn't a house. I imagined. Oh, there was a shack here. Yeah. It's not going to appear on the map though. We do have houses up here though. Not that road, but it at least looks similar. I might just send that in. It just looks like that to me, and the reason, because it's the trees and this lamp being like the more common one in Ontario, and the fact that we have water south is, yeah, I would send that. Oh wow, New Brunswick. Okay, that's the biggest fail probably we've had so far. It's definitely the hardest round we've had so far as well. One thing that we could have got New Brunswick with was the way they had the insulator set up, the transformer set up here, facing away from the road instead of facing towards the driver. But it was too far away to like really get a good read on it. But yeah, to be fair, that was facing like away from the road, which is like essentially the same as facing towards the road. Even with that, I still think it looks so Ontarian that this is a difficult round. But you could at least get that it's not US, because we've got the two nibs here. In the US, you would just have one, like you have on the back. Even like that. You would have that on both sides in the US. So, yeah, that's at least good. At the front of the car, you'll have the two nibs on each side. So, yeah, interesting round. Back in Newfie, look at all the trees. White car again. Oh, no. It looks kind of weird now, though. Oh, we got concrete guardrails. Wait, am I actually wrong? I think I'm wrong. That's annoying. Northeast Mountains. Yeah, this is actually... Oh, what the heck is going on here? White car makes sense for BC. Just want to see one thing at least that's like properly BC, because I thought these were Newfie trees, but they're just like northern trees. No front. What the heck is going on, man? Surely just a traveler. What the bloody hell? Going east. Elkhart. Oh, why they got a concrete? It has to be. It has to be BC. It has to be. Okay, what the heck is that road? I don't know. But yeah, no front was also so baity. Red soil. And yeah, that is it for Canada. Well, I think this should be a useful video. You see, there's so much to get where you are in Canada. It's pretty ridiculous. It's like the Australia of the North, really. Let me know what you thought. Let me know which country's coming next, and I will see you guys in a video very soon. Until next time, and goodbye.